Let's see, Matt Buckley, Lieutenant Matt, how are you?
Hey, John, I'm good. How are you?
I was in Dubai in April and I got hit by a drone.
What?
Yeah, a drone got
Well,
intercepted directly over my head as I was getting out of a taxi, and the breed fell right on top of me. It tore all the skin off my right foot, messed up my back, but fortunately, nothing hit me in the head.
my God, man. Go buy a lottery ticket.
I know I
Jesus
had
God.
to go back to the airport in a wheelchair.
Jesus God, man. Well, thank God you're here.
Yeah, we were getting hit with 50 drones a day.
50 drones a day. Oh my God,
Yeah.
man.
I was staying at the
Well,
Ritz-Carlton. I had to sleep in the bathtub. Fortunately, they have big bathtubs at the Ritz-Carlton.
Jesus God. Well, man, let's pray for peace on earth, man. This is it's getting a little old. All the
I
killing and
know.
the death and destruction, let's end it, man, once and for all. My God.
Yeah, British intelligence estimates it's costing us $2 billion a day.
I wouldn't I wouldn't necessarily dispute those numbers, man. Well,
Yeah,
and
keeping a hundred ships out there is expensive.
yeah, well,
And
and
50,
not only that, but 13 lives, great young men and women, and hundreds of traumatic brain injuries and other stuff.
oh yeah,
So, you know, let's
and
just pray for
50-year
peace on earth.
liabilities for the U.S. government
Yeah,
for fully
exactly.
disabled vets.
Yep. Well,
All
that's
right.
sadly, that's a good segue to what I'm going to be talking about right now, John.
All
So
right.
I
Well, let's
appreciate that.
segue away. Go ahead and get your PowerPoint up. Um, and let's see, we changed the order slightly. So here we go. Uh, Matt Buckley, otherwise known as Wiz, his old call sign when he was a Navy fighter, is the founder of Top Gun Options and a decorated former United States Navy fighter pilot who graduated from the Navy Fighter Weapons School, or Top Gun. After flying 44 combat missions over Iraq, he served as managing director of strategy at Peak Six Investments, a major volatility arbitrage options trading firm. He is also internationally recognized speaker on business leadership and risk management. Get ready for a session, Cleared Hot, uh, Psychedelic Biotech and the Trade of the Decade. So Matt, you flew F-16s, right?
F-16s, that's the Air Force, John. They're barely on our side. I was a Hornet guy, Navy F-18.
F-18s, okay. You are in the F-18 generation. Yeah, I was
You
going to
got it.
say most of the F-16s are in museums now.
That's exactly right,
That's
sadly.
my
Oh, well,
generation.
that's exactly right. Sadly, they're all going to be in museums someday, the way AI and
Yes.
drones are going.
All right. Well, I'm going to mute myself. You have the floor. You have until 5 minutes before the hour. You are cleared for takeoff.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Clear for takeoff. All right, folks, let's go ahead and throttle up and get airborne. Welcome aboard. As John just explained, all that stuff on the screen, so I'm not going to repeat it. Well, what's this have to do with trading? Well, everything. I ended up after getting off active duty in the Navy and flying fighters in the reserves part time. I moved up to Chicago and I helped run one of the largest multi-billion dollar volatility arbitrage firms in the United States, headquartered right there in the Chicago Board of Trade. That's our trading floor right there. It was just an absolute blast. I helped build the Options News Network, ONN.TV. We were the CNBC of options. I felt like Eddie Murphy in the movie Trading Places, right? Like Valentine, going from a little retail trader to the big leagues. But that's the power of applying some of the things that I'm going to teach you today. Having a strategy, implementing tactics, contingency planning, right? Before I ever place a trade, I know exactly what I'm going to get out for minimum loss or exit for maximum profit. So it was a great time being up there in Chicago, but no offense to anybody from Chicago. I'm a Navy guy. I need a beach and sun and sand and yeah, Lake Michigan ain't it. So moved down here to South Florida, God's waiting room, Boca Raton. And I started Top Gun Options about 15 years ago. Man, I've lost count after over tens of thousands of retail traders how to potentially profit in all market conditions. Wrote a couple books, in my spare time, right? I'm proud of From Sea Level to Sea Level. It's my story going from essentially the trade cockpit to the trading pit, but COVID crash. I wrote that in 2021. How we destroyed the so-called smart money. Do you remember the COVID crash? Do you remember who was it? Kyle Bass or Bill Ackman? One of them or both of them were crying. Do you remember this crying on CNBC? Like, we need to shut the exchanges down. We need to shut markets down. I'm like, no, no, we don't, fellas. Just because your bullish positions are getting destroyed right now, we ain't closing anything down. And I remember, what day was it? Thursday or Friday, whenever it was during the COVID market crashing, President Trump, stocks are looking good here. I'd be a buyer of stocks. The next day, I made $750,000 at the open on puts on the S&P 500. It was like shooting fish in a barrel. So wrote that book too, COVID Crash from Panic to Profit. And why do I bring this up? Ladies and gentlemen, the smart money ain't that smart. You are the smart money. I've been in the room. I was at ground zero in 2008 during the global financial crisis, man. These people put their pants on one leg at a time like I do, man. And the smart money just ain't that smart. Here's what we're going to talk about today. And this is maybe it's going to blow you away. Maybe it's not. As a Navy fighter pilot, a lot of trauma. I had horrific childhood trauma. I was sexually abused as a child. I lost my sister Monica to a drunk driver when she was 19. She was a freshman at Villanova University, and that was a hand grenade. Technically my parents died that night too. They were done. And I was going into high school, which is a tough time for a young man anyway. So a lot of childhood trauma, and then I went in the military. And in 15 years of flying fighter jets, I lost 16 buddies. Not a single combat loss. Those were all stupidity, bad weather, mechanical issues, just awful. And then along the way, I've lost 4 F-18 brothers to suicide, including a groomsman in my wedding. One of my best friends, he was a Marine fighter pilot, beautiful bride, 5 kids. Just decided the world would be better off without him, and it's heartbreaking for me. Why do I bring this up? Because after the COVID market crash, and I printed money, like I said, it was close to let me round up. It was $3 million in about three weeks. Why does that matter? Well, right around that time, when my 4th buddy checked out, I looked at my beautiful bride, Susie, and I said, you know what? We got to do something about veteran suicide. And she said, yeah. I'm like, we're not a pharaoh, right? You're not a pharaoh. They're not going to put $3 million in your casket, in your tomb as you go to the next place. I said, why don't we just take this? We got a nice house and college funds are taken care of. Let's do something. So I stood in my home office here in front of my whiteboard, and I'm like, how do you keep a veteran from killing themselves, right? Help them pay the rent, buy him a nice suit to interview, or help him write their resume. I was clueless. Well, guess what happened? How many of you seen the movie Lone Survivor or read the book about Navy SEAL Marcus Luttrell? So what happened? In beginning of 2021, a buddy of mine said, hey, there's a group of Navy SEALs and Special Forces veterans that go down to Mexico and they do psychedelic assisted therapy. And there's a really cool group going in a couple weeks. Would you want to go? And I said, man, go to Mexico and do drugs with Navy SEALs? It sounds like a great weekend. Sign me up. Ladies and gentlemen, I had absolutely no clue what I was getting into. And I thank God I didn't. Because maybe I wouldn't. No, I still would have gone. But folks, I don't use these words lightly. I was born again. I flew into San Diego. Why? Because if you do this in San Diego today, you're a felon. If you do it an hour south in Mexico, it'll save and change your life. So there's Navy SEAL Marcus Luttrell. If you any of you drink Black Rifle coffee, he's got a shirt on. That's one of the founders of Black Rifle Coffee, Jared Taylor. That's JJ. He's a Navy SEAL teammate with Marcus. And then if you're a football fan, this guy's name is Robert Gallery. He was an All-American at Iowa, linebacker, big as, I mean, look how I thought Marcus Luttrell was big. I thought I was tall. This guy, he was dead. I rode in the car with him. You know, we had a little convoy from San Diego to Mexico. I sat in this guy in the back seat of a car, and I was sitting next to a 6'7", 350-pound dead iceberg. He was dying. Horrific trauma, head trauma, and everything like that. To hear him tell it today, he's like, Wiz, if that didn't work, I was going to go back to Lake Tahoe when I got back from Mexico and kill myself. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to give you you can go listen to one of my podcasts where I give you the full debrief. What's this have to do with trading? Man, everything. And I'm not going to feel bad about talking about potentially profiting because it's called profit with purpose. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to talk about making money and potentially saving and changing lives. That making money's great. That's kind of a win. How about making money and helping to save and change lives? That's the ultimate win-win. So, ladies and gentlemen, here's the abbreviated version. I got my ass kicked for 14 hours. I've done some challenging things in my life. This was one of the most challenging things I've ever experienced. It wasn't fun. It wasn't recreational. I reconnected with my sister, my dad who had passed away, my God, and it destroyed alcohol. I got home, I looked at my beautiful bride and I said, this is how we're going to end veteran suicide. So I started the No Fallen Heroes Foundation. And for the past 5 years, we've been giving grants to veterans, first responders, and their families, because my wife served too, man. She had to put up with me, to go sit in ceremony with these sacraments. Met with the VA secretary last May, pushing them really hard. And then what happened? Take a look at over here on the right. Oop. See that picture of me in the White House? You wouldn't believe what happened. April, let me just show you something. April, what was the day? 18th or something like that? It was a Friday afternoon. It was a tough week. I got to be honest with you. It was a tough week. I never do this. I sat on the couch after the market closed Friday afternoon. And I said, you know what? I'm turning off the laptop. I'm turning off my cell phone. I never turn off my cell phone. I'm like, I'm going to turn off my cell phone for the weekend. I have got to disconnect. As God's funny, man. As I go to power down my cell phone, I get a caller ID, White House. And I start laughing. I'm like, what guy in Pakistan, what call center, what spam center got the White House, type of thing to display? So I answer it, Mr. Buckley, I'm calling on behalf of the president. I'm like, yeah, sure you are. What? I'm like, who is this? She's like, whatever her name was. I'm like, she's like, are you in Washington? I'm like, no, why? I'm in Boca Raton. She's like, well, the president will be signing an executive order tomorrow morning on ibogaine, and he would love to have you there. And I said, man, I'm going to hang up the phone right now. I'm going to start walking if I need to, or drive. I was like, I'm getting in my car right now. I'll drive 15 hours from Florida to DC. Well, thank God JetBlue had a flight. So I got up there, it was an 8 o'clock flight, landed. I couldn't sleep, man. I was at what was it, St. Regis or whatever it was, right down the street from the White House. Woke up, walked down. I was in the Oval Office. Ladies and gentlemen, it was almost 5 years ago to the day. To the right of, well, to the left of Joe Rogan, over here outside of my little picture, was Marcus Luttrell. When I walked up to the security gate, my brother's like, oh, now it's a party. So ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know what ibogaine is, you don't know what psychedelic assisted, even if those words make your skin crawl, like, ooh, psychedelics, man, You bought into the whole Nixon war on drugs and everything like that. The first psychedelic revolution was hippies and Malabides and drug rugs and anti-war. And Nixon, I mean, I hope he's at peace right now, man. But what a evil! He went after the hippies, and then he went after the African Americans with cannabis and weed. What a horror! This psychedelic revolution, ladies and gentlemen, is being led by who? Veterans, first responders, family members, man. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I mean, this was, what a moment. Joe Rogan, RFK, that guy's gone. He was the FDA commissioner. Marty McCarty, that's the director of the NIH. There's Dr. Oz. You see these two ladies? If you didn't watch this press conference live, this lady from the NIH was like, I got to be honest, I was one of the biggest skeptics of all of this, but I've changed my mind. It was absolutely incredible. But if you look at the picture, like I said, to the left of Joe Rogan are my Navy SEAL brothers, Rob O'Neill, who allegedly killed bin Laden, Marcus Luttrell, his brother Morgan Luttrell, who is a Navy SEAL and congressman. It was just an absolute surreal moment. 5 years, almost to the day, Marcus and I were laying on a mattress on the floor of a home in Mexico, and 5 years later, President Trump signing an executive order on ibogaine and freeing up research. So we're going to talk about the psychedelic sector, man, but I had to give you this warm up because it saved and changed my life. 5 years ago, Wiz, if I heard me giving a trade brief about psychedelic drugs, I would have kicked my own ass. But that guy died on a home, on a floor in Mexico. It destroyed my childhood trauma, my alcohol, you name it, I was born again. So this is what we're going to talk about, folks, because the psychedelic sector is exploding. The names I'm going to give you, what we're going to talk about is absolutely insanity. And we've had even better news since I left the White House. So and here's what I'm going to do. Where's that report? I don't know if I can. I'll figure out how to share this report with you, folks. This is this is our psychedelic biotech sector brief. These are the names I'm going to talk about right now. Ladies and gentlemen, let me give you some breaking news, man, on a couple things. When Marty McCarty left the FDA 2 weeks ago, one of the reasons he left was because Trump said you're not moving fast enough on this stuff. What happened 2 weeks ago? Mike Davis became a heavy at the FDA. Who's Mike Davis, Wiz? All you need to know was this guy was the chief medical officer of a psilocybin company for 3 years. Wait a minute. They're hiring heavies into government positions at the FDA who were in these companies? Yeah, baby. So, when they fired the FDA commissioner because you're not moving fast enough on these things, this is great. I'm going to talk about these names, the main one being Compass. Ladies and gentlemen, I've never heard this before. And Marty McCarty was great in the Oval Office. He was like, we are giving rolling approval to Compass Pathways. They've done 2 phase 3 trials on psilocybin. And the results were so good in the one trial, they're like, you know what? We want to prove to the government and all the doubters that ain't luck. They did a second phase 3 trial. All this stuff's in this report. I can share you, but ladies and gentlemen, this sector, and I'll go show you all the names here in a second, are exploding. So in this report, let me zoom in here. Here's my targeting list. Write these names down if I can't figure out how to get you this report. Compass, Definium, Atai, and helps in the penalty box for me right now, but we're gonna dig into these 3 names, ladies and gentlemen, and how you can potentially profit and save and change a lot. Wait a minute. Here's where I can do it. Oh, it is on. Where is that page? Nope. Here. It's you know what? Here it is. You can get this report. I can't paste it. Or whoever, Sebastian, or if you guys can put, it's easy to remember. go.topgunoptions.com/TTA. That stands for Tactical Trade Alert. If you scroll down, there's this 10-page report on everything I'm going to talk about right now. Instead of taking notes and flipping out and scribbling, there's the report right there. And there's the link. Go.topgunoptions.com/TTA. All right, tactical trade alerts. I'm going to dig into this whole report right now. All right, so Compass, like I just said, ladies and gentlemen, this is the 500-pound gorilla in the space. This name, look at this. Let me zoom in a little bit. What does a rolling NDA mean? That's not a non-disclosure. It's a new drug application. Marty McCarty, the FDA commissioner before he got fired, said the second Compass gives us their NDA, we're talking days. We're not talking weeks, months, or years to get FDA approval. This is not your father and mother's FDA, especially when it comes to psychedelics. I have a buddy, I have several buddies at some of these companies. I remember like 6, 8 months ago, one of them called me like, hey man, the FDA called me. I'm like, oh, that's not good. He's like, no, they wanted to know where the application was, like speed it up. What are you guys waiting for? And we had to tell them like, we can't rush the trials, man. People either feel good or bad on their own timeline. Sorry. So so we'll talk about Compass in a second. Then Definium. They also have a phase 3. I hate using the word. Well, I won't use the word drug. Medicine. That's eminent. And then we'll talk about a tie. And what's the difference in between these things, folks? Different compounds. Some of you know what these are, and I hate this term, but I'll use it. Magic mushrooms. Well, the active ingredient is called psilocin or psilocybin. The emerge medicine from Definium is lysergic. What's that? LSD. And then down here with a tie, they're starting their phase 3 trial now, 5-MeO DMT. So 5-MeO DMT, ladies and gentlemen, man, you got to go listen to my podcast. As a 52-year-old man, I did a flip. I don't remember doing it. It was an exorcism. I flipped in the bed when I did my 5-MeO DMT experience. Okay, so let's start digging through these names right now. There you go. Patricia, DMT, great. I loved it. Peggy, I have witnessed healing from these substances. Peggy, you and me both, my sister, because I have held space we've given over, I think, 200 grants to veterans, first responders, and their families to date. All right, let's get going. Compass. Let's dig in here, man. CMPS. And you can see what happened. So, and this is a great looking, taking a break here. Here is Wiz, tired on his couch. What was that? April? Oh, there you go. April 17th, that Friday. Here's Monday when the market opened. All the psychedelic names ripped after we left the White House, man. So, you know, I told TGO members to buy this thing at $5. It got as high a couple days ago as, let's just round up, 15. This pullback, and there's nice support here around 12, is a gift. Listen to me, folks. This is an absolute gift. Not only is it a gift, but we have a date. The FDA or the company said, like, most likely Q4 of this year, we'll submit our NDA. So NDA submission, most likely in fall. And then what? Marty McCarty, even though he resigned, he was going to get fired, said, we're going to take almost no time at all. So folks, the FDA has been flying formation with Compass, saying, okay, you good? They've been doing gate checks all the way, and you can read all the stuff about this because I want to get into my trades and show you stuff. But in this report, I show you all the key milestones for each name. Right now, rolling new drug submission is underway. They had a great meeting at Jeffries. July 1st, this is when we're going to get another durability readout, and then the Q4, like I just told you, they're going to submit their app, and then early 2027. Potential FDA approval. This guy is saying, man, if it takes more than 2 months, we failed you, which is insane. Go talk to Merck or Pfizer when they submit a new drug application for whatever. Hey, we're going on year 3 waiting for our approval. Not with these And remember, folks, this is it's not funny to me, but I will say this. When I met with the VA secretary, he's like, well, Wiz, we're really going to have to study this stuff. And I said, hey, Mr. Secretary, no offense. No, you don't. I mean, I'm sure you do for your ones and zeros or your booger eaters, but man, I have seen hundreds of veterans heal. And we have this this ego in the West, like, look at what we just discovered. Are you kidding me? Ibogaine comes from iboga, which is root bark from Gabon, Africa, which they've been using since like the dawn of man. You go to a medicine woman in the Amazon and ask her where her phase 3 trials are, she's just going to laugh. She doesn't even know what those are. So enough with the and love or hate Donald Trump, folks, in the Oval Office, he nailed it. He looked at RFK and Dr. Oz and said, "Hey, fellas, how good are SSRIs?" And they both, one of them said, "Well, single digits, Mr. President." Then he looked at the Navy SEALs over his left shoulders and said, "Fellas, what about you?" Healed us 100%. The Stanford study that the president was speaking from, out of the 30 Navy SEALs that Stanford University studied with Ibogaine, 85% of these SEALs were listen to me, clinically healed, meaning no signs of PTS. Their TBIs, their traumatic brain injuries cleared up. So we're going from single digit help with an SSRI to potential, let's even say it was 25%, let alone 85%. So here we go. The bet, I obviously run Top Gun Options. I'm an options guy. So we can do a couple things. Since we have a date, well, Wiz, it sounds like they're going to maybe get approval first quarter of next year. Yeah, I prefer to go further out in time than that. But, let's go take a look look at this. There's some lottery ticket call options going on here. The 15 strike, the 20 strike. This might even be a call spread. Somebody bought these and sold these. But I'm going to go further out in time and show you the trade that I would do today. So there's a couple ways you could potentially trade this. I'm going to show you two options trades. One is you simply buy the calls, man. I don't know, let's buy 10 of these. Let's buy 10 of the Jan 2028 15 calls. Okay? At the money calls, is there a 12 strike? Yeah, you could buy the 12 strike if you wanted because we're at about 12. But let's just go 15, a little out of the money. Okay? But I'm cheap. You're not going to do this because I'm going to train you. You could just buy these 10 calls years into the future, put them in your filing cabinet and forget about them. That's how old I am. I still use the word filing cabinet. But here's what I'm going to do. Why don't we sell the front month upside calls against it? The hell is front month? Well, you're sitting in the front month, June. We could sell some calls against the long calls and bring in some money. Slide up, order ticket. Thank you. So we're $12. Why don't we sell the June, which expires in about 2 weeks, the June 13 calls against it. And I'm going to do 5 of them. Okay. So what did I just do? Whoa, Wiz, you brought in $300. I just paid down the cost basis on this a little bit. Now you might be sitting there going, well, Wiz, why are you only selling 5? There's 10 up here and there's 5 here. Folks, I want to leave 5 of these uncovered to run. Right? Let's say I got this all wrong. Because I'm going to tell you, I'm torn about telling you this. I want this to happen and I don't. Let me start with the I don't. Tomorrow morning, we wake up, God willing. Breaking news, Pfizer has acquired Compass in a $50 billion deal. The stock is up 1 trillion %. Why wouldn't you want that to happen? Well, I don't want that to happen because I don't want Big Pharma coming in and capitalizing on any of this. But ladies and gentlemen, do you think the CEO of Pfizer sitting on the 12th floor on his pile of cash, hearing about these publicly traded psychedelic companies healing generalized anxiety disorder or this or that? They will swoop in with their size 12 checkbooks and buy them. I guarantee you this. Let's just say I know this is going to happen, right? Well, why don't you want that to happen, Wiz? Because I don't want that to happen. I don't want, okay, well, we're going to change the name of this compound from ibogaine to ibogaine and it's 20 grand and nobody can do it. So I'm a little torn, but I'm going to pretend I'm Gordon Gekko or Jordan Belfort and stick with my Wolf of Wall Street. Let's talk about making money. But that's why I'm going to leave 5 of these, quote, uncovered in case it just rips. Uh-oh. I have 5 free calls of the 10 that can run for max profit. If you don't understand that, I can help you learn it, okay? So the max potential loss in this trade is 5,600 bucks, right? You could do less than that. Let's do, I don't know, let's do 5 out into the future and 2 in the front month. This trade is about 2,900 bucks, right? But you still have unlimited profit target. Let's go look at what Uncle Wiz is thinking for Compass. Let's scroll down, scroll. Oh, there you go. My 12-month target, conservative. Yeah, I'm going to go 25 bucks, right in the middle of that. 2 years from now, I think this is stupid. I'm now. I need to update this report. It's about a week old. It's 65 easily. If it gets bought, obviously we get rolled in everything else. But folks, the stock's at 12 bucks right now. Would you like to potentially double your money in a year? And most of you who know anything about options know that's the stock doubling. Our options positions, if the stock doubles in a year, our options positions will be up hundreds of percent. I have a whole folder of case studies if I have some time at the end of the profits people are my current members are seeing in these names. Hundreds and hundreds of percent. Okay. Now, for what time is it? All right. For the sake of time, I'm going to move on to Definium. Okay. Here we go. DFTX. Okay. Let's go look at that chart. Similar type of thing, just a different medicine. Ladies and gentlemen, here's Wiz Friday on the couch in the White House. Nice little sine wave and then a run. I'm waiting. We break 25 with some airspeed and it's off to the races here. So I'm going to show you a different tactic on how to trade this one, but let's go down to Definium real quick. 5, ladies and gentlemen, 5 phase 3 studies are active. This has a lot of boats deployed, ladies and gentlemen. Look at this. This isn't whiz math. I was a political science major from South Jersey. Don't trust my math. Morningstar fair value estimate, $86 per share. That's a 277% upside, folks. What about HC Wainwright? 70 bucks. Unbelievable. Where are they getting these numbers? Guess what happened? Gilgamesh is one of these. It's a psychedelic biotech company trying to make it big. They came in, AbbVie came in and paid $1.2 billion for a single product they were developing. They didn't buy the whole company, they bought the product. $1.2 billion. So we are hearing, ladies and gentlemen, it's somewhere in here somewhere, that, who is it, Jeffries or somebody is potentially working on a deal to sell one of their lines, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. Here's my 12-month target and the 24-month target. All bets are off, man. If somebody comes in and buys one of their product lines for, does everybody know what Spravato is? Right? Spravato is a 1.5 to $2 billion, it's S-ketamine, right? Spravato with Janssen, I think it is. It's insane. Ketamine isn't that effective. Every one of these compounds I'm talking to you about in these companies makes ketamine look like it's a failure. And it's a massive multi-billion-dollar pipeline for Janssen, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, let's go to Definium. I'm going to show you a different tactic, and you can see my current position. I already have real money in here right now, but we're at 24 bucks. Okay. I went all the way out in time as far as I can. Look at this. 595 days to this trade would expire. Okay. We're at 24. There is no 24 strike. There's a 22. There's a 25. Let's just do the one I have right now. So if you're new to options, let me teach you something real quick. You probably know, even if you're brand new to options, that buying a call option is what? Bullish. I've heard that at a cocktail party, Wiz. I'm going to buy some call options. I think the stock will go up. Bullish, you buy an option, call option. Who's on the other side of that trade? They have to sell you that option. So a call seller is bearish. Okay, so there's calls in a nutshell. Now let's go to the other side, a put. Now, many of you also, if you're new to options, have probably heard about puts. Uh-oh, I think the market's going to go down. I'm going to, say it with me, buy some puts. So buying a put is bearish. You think something is going to go down. Somebody has to sell you that put. So a put seller is bullish, right? So let's build something called synthetic stock. Let me start here. If you wanted to buy 100 shares of Definium today, you would need 2,400 bucks. Okay, remember 2,400. I'm going to show you with options synthetic stock. I'm going to buy this call option, and I'm going to sell the same strike 22 put. Remember, what did I just tell you? Buying a call is bullish. Selling the put is also bullish. Ladies and gentlemen, I just saved you. Look down here. I just saved you, what was that? $2,100. Would you rather spend 305 bucks to be long 100 shares of Definium or 2,400? You already know the answer. Now, what do you mean? And look at the P&L diagram. Does everybody know? I mean, they're kind of close together. Or zoom out and you'll see the lines kind of separate. This is called synthetic stock. You are long the stock essentially, but the term synthetic means you don't own the shares. You don't own 100 shares of Definium. Guess what you don't get with synthetic stock? And I don't care about either one of the things you don't get. You don't get a dividend, right? You don't own the shares, so you don't get a dividend. Definium doesn't have a dividend, folks. It's a biotech company. They ain't giving you money back. They're burning it. The other thing you don't get to do with synthetic stock is to vote. You're not a shareholder. But I'm fairly certain there's probably shareholders at Definium that own more than 100 shares, so your vote means nothing. So why would you buy 100 shares of any stock instead of doing synthetic stock? It makes zero sense. Now, the really smart people in this room said what? Well, Wiz, wait a minute. The max potential loss is 2,500 bucks. Just like what? The stock. If you buy 100 shares of Definium, their max risk is what? Oh, well, the 2,400, it could go to zero. Duh. It's the same potential risk with the synthetic stock, but I'm not done cooking. I'm a fighter pilot. I'm an options trader. I don't fly without an ejection seat. So what I do is I buy what I call a disaster put about 20% under the current stock price. Why? Why'd you pick 20%? Well, ladies and gentlemen, if this market keeps imploding and it goes down 20%, what does CNBC say? Well, as of this morning, the S&P's in a bear market. If a stock goes down 20%, what do they say? Well, as of this morning, whatever is in a bear market. So that's just my rule of thumb. I buy what I call a protective or, disaster put underneath it. Now look at the price. Well, the cost of the trade went up a little bit. Why? I just bought some insurance. But what happened to my max potential loss? I cut it in more than half. My call sign's Wiz, but it's not because I'm a wizard. But look, isn't that some pretty cool magic? One more time, it's a rhetorical question. Why would you spend 2,400 bucks when you could spend 985 and be protected? It's a rhetorical question, of course, yeah, but I'm not done, man. So let's go all the way back to the front month, June, and sell. What are we at? 24. Let's sell one couple weeks out, 25. What did I just do? My God, Wiz, you brought in 200 bucks and you made this trade even cheaper. Isn't this awesome? I love doing this stuff, man. And this is my, as you can see behind me, this is my current position. Actually, I have two. I did something like this. Two, 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 but I leave one. I'm not selling a full two in case Pfizer bought Definium tomorrow and the stock rips. I want one call able to run, baby. Everybody understand. If you don't, I can teach you this, man. I this synthetic stock lecture I'm giving you is an hour and 15 minutes in my options weapons school training. You can watch, when you join. Isn't this awesome? So if you did two, 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 and one, it's 1,800 bucks. But again, your profit is what? Unlimited, man. I just gave you my profit targets. I showed you H.C. Wainwright and Deutsche, whoever it was. This is potentially, folks, 60, 70, $80 stock in the next 12 to 24 months. Tell do not wake up one day and look on CNBC. Breaking news, so and so acquired Definium, and you're going to be like, oh my God, I should have listened to that whiz guy. Yeah, you should have. All right, the last one I'm going to cover that's in our report, even though there's two more, the last one, help, is kind of, let me scroll down. It's kind of in my penalty box. It's got some, it's okay for now, but I'd rather focus on a tie. This one is work. Listen to this. Sit up straight. This is another one of these. BPL-003 is one of their psychedelic medicines with 5-MeO-DMT. Jefferies, JP Morgan, and TD Cowen are trying to sell for $2 billion plus just this thing like Gilgamesh did with AbbVie. My God, if that happens, look at the price. Canaccord, $15. Deutsche Bank, 12. Folks, this is insane. These neuroplastogens, man, are life. These are life changing. All right, so let's go look at a tie. Thank you, Sebastian. I appreciate that. Well, let's just say my call sign's Wiz, and it has nothing to do with intelligence. There's no Maverick or Iceman or Hangman. You usually do something stupid. I'm going to take no questions about how I earn my call sign. So anyway, here's my current position. I have 5. I went all the way up to Jan 28. I bought 5 of these Atai calls. And I'm supposed to have 10. I thought I had 10. I'd buy 10 of these out into the future and sell, the front month 5s against them. These are called ratio spreads, folks. No, probably the 6. So this is the trade I would do right now. Oh, sorry, 5. Sell 5. Leaving 5 uncovered to rip in case great news happens between now and June expiration in a couple weeks. Okay? $1,800 for potential unlimited profit. Okay? Isn't that awesome? And look, remember, one options contract equals 100 shares of stock. So when I buy 10 of these call options, I'm controlling what? 1,000 shares. How much is that to control 1,000 shares? $1,900. What if I wanted to buy 1,000 shares of Atai Monday morning at the open? Would you rather spend $4,000 or $1,800, folks? Oops, sorry, screen wasn't updating. This is Atai. If you bought 1,000 shares of Atai right now, market's still open, it's $4,000. If you just bought this call option, 10 of them, it's $1,800. You save 50% when you buy the option, folks, right? And I love doing, especially, for a little, I stopped using this term the beginning of the year. What term? Lottery ticket. I was calling these, to my Top Gun Options members. I'm like, man, these are lottery tickets, blah, blah, blah. They're not. They're not anymore. When you go from standing in the White House and them getting rid of the FDA commissioner and saying we're moving fast on these names, they're not lottery tickets anymore. I'm going to warn you though, folks. I mean, these are biotech names, man. There could be some, oh my God, breaking news. We didn't see this was coming. I have to say that since I'm your flight instructor and I have to brief all the potential threats. Not happening. I know these companies. I know the trials. If anything, I was talking to a buddy at a conference. He's like, Wiz, we almost We can, obviously, but we almost want to lie about how good it is because nobody's going to believe it. I'm like, whoa, what a problem to have. These, I'm not going to say drug, these medicines are working so well that they're like, man, we might actually have to pull a couple punches because, man, oh yeah, and oh, I forgot. Compass, what was that? About 3 weeks ago, Compass reported earnings, and the stock ripped 16%. Man, they have a ton of cash. I'm not going to sit here and read all this stuff. And Sebastian did a great job of putting the link to this report in the chat box. Does everybody see that? Everybody sees where you can download this report, right? I appreciate you throwing that in the chat box. So not only are you going to get access to that psychedelic report, man, the AI super cycle. This is, I mean, this is off topic, but I'll throw another report at you with the 10 names I'm targeting in the AI sector, man. Let me scroll down to my targeting list. Broadcom, ladies and gentlemen, selling off after earnings is a gift. Let me just go show you. It's getting caught up in the overall market, you know, relief pullback. But look at this. We got bullish in April at 300, and it went all the way up to essentially 500. Now it's at 400, right in the middle. It filled the gap. Broadcom is a gift here, folks. I promise you it's a gift. I'm going to talk about that next week in one of our free live trade briefs if you want to join us. But I'll show you how to do what's called synthetic stock. Awesome, Patricia. Yeah, dissect it, read it, digest it. It's so cool when people like realize this, right? And it's so funny, man, because when I go to let me tell you about some of the threats, to be honest with you. I stopped going to Washington, except to go to the White House when they called. When I was walking the halls of Congress, when was this? 2, 3 years ago. I'm not going to tell you who it was, but a congressman behind closed doors said, Wiz, I love what you're doing. And I said, awesome, sir. Well, he said, well, hold on. You're going to have a problem with the big pharma and the alcohol and tobacco folks. And I was like, what? Isn't that your job? So let me remind you, ladies and gentlemen, all these compounds I just talked about are a Schedule 1 drug. Do you guys want to laugh with me together? What's the definition of a Schedule 1 drug? Thank you, Richard Nixon. No therapeutic use and a high risk of addiction. What did I just define? Alcohol and cigarettes. Zero therapeutic use, and they'll kill you, and they're addictive. 100% legal. The things I just talked to you about, these companies have to go to the DEA and get an approval and a voucher, and are you kidding me? The ibogaine that I sat with was the most therapeutic thing that happened in my 52 years on this planet, and it was anti-addictive. It destroyed alcohol in my life. Up to a year, ladies and gentlemen, of sitting with ibogaine once, it was hard to go out to dinner because if I smelled alcohol, I dry heaved. Now, 5 years later, if my beautiful bride makes a nice steak or some pasta, I can have a glass of wine. But old Wiz, a glass of wine was the bottle or probably two for me. Good luck, everybody else. So it's really interesting because to see some of the threats out there is big pharma. Ladies and gentlemen, Marcus, where is he? Down here. Marcus Luttrell, my brother, Navy SEAL, he was on 15 medications a day, 5 for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Folks, he hasn't taken a single medication drug since ceremony. Robert Gallery, I literally bumped it. He bumped into me a year after ceremony. I was at a fundraiser in San Diego. It was kind of crowded, and this big thing ran into me. I'm like, oh my God, I'm about to get my ass kicked. Who is this? It was Robert. I didn't even recognize the man. Completely different human being. His brain scans from the NFL were, he's like, Wiz, they don't figure out if you have CTE until you're dead, and they open up your grape. He's like, I know I have or had CTE. His brain scans from the NFL were gray and dark and whatever. 3 months after Ibogaine, ladies and gentlemen, his brain scans were completely white. The neuroplasticity of these compounds is insane. Let me share with you something real quick, and I'll keep everybody on time. Penicillin. Penicillin was discovered in the 20s. It saved millions of GIs and people in World War II. Do you know when they figured out how penicillin works? The 60s. So I know a lot of the booger eaters and the folks in the lab coats with the beakers, and they tell me, Wiz, we're a little clueless right now as to the how, but it is working. Robert Gallery actually started his own NFL nonprofit to get ibogaine to NFL players. So you bet, Sebastian, man, I'm telling you, it is. There are religions founded around psychedelics. Man, are you a plant? I didn't want to bring this up. I founded my own. I'm a recovering Catholic. A year ago, ladies and gentlemen, sitting here in meditation, I said, you know what? I was a young kid. The body and blood of Jesus. These compounds to me brought me closer to God and source, or whatever word I choose to use the word God. But ladies and gentlemen, we do ceremonies in South Florida under the First Amendment, man. So if you're interested, sacredwarriorfellowship.com. I'm so happy. I'm in such a good mood. You guys probably didn't think you were coming to a trade brief to talk about any of this stuff, did you? Royal trading. I love it. Amen, man. I defended the Constitution for 15 years. Now I'm going to exercise my First Amendment rights. To exercise my religion however I see fit. Benjamin, get my musket. Amen. I am with you. Okay, did you guys get if so you got the reports for free. If you're interested, I don't want to hard sell you right now, but that's called our Tactical Trade Alert Service. I put out those reports a couple times a week. It's only $97 a month. I just told you I really don't drink anymore. I used to say that's a really bad bottle of wine. I guess I can still say that. So if you're interested, after you read that report, if you're interested, like, man, or you can do the annual. It's cheaper. You get, 2 months included. But this is our, for lack of a better word, gateway drug to get into Top Gun options. You can come in here, kick the tires and walk around our squadron and come check it out. So go get the free report. Sebastian or whoever put the link in to download the AI report and the psychedelic report. I'm not really here to sell you. This stuff sells itself once you read this stuff. And I'm going to tell you, when I helped build a hedge fund in Chicago when I was up there. These reports, the quality of these reports, I mean, you had to be a private wealth client of ours, 25 to 50 million minimum. Otherwise, we charge about 10 grand. This one, the psychedelic report's about 5 grandish. This AI report, folks, with the target prices, the stock, the intel was about a $10,000 product when I was in Chicago. And I'll throw them at you for free so you can go take a look. Okay, so, and like I said, finally, folks, yeah, so here's my 2 nonprofits, the No Fallen Heroes Foundation. This number is wrong. The government's lying to us. Guess how old the veteran suicide numbers are? 3 years. You're telling me we can't get current suicide numbers? So a couple small community colleges, Duke University and the University of Alabama, did a study. They dug into the numbers, and Uncle Sam was only counting a guy who left the VA hospital and went in the parking lot and put a bullet in his head. But when these 2 institutions went and talked to humans, they found out the number is closer to 44 a day. He drank himself to death, or no, she overdosed. She killed herself, man. Isn't that a disgrace? That's a mass shooting on a daily basis, folks, not once a year. Every day in the veteran community. So hopefully by this point in the brief, I've sold you a little bit on potentially profiting with purpose. I take a lot of what my beautiful bride and I make and throw it over the fence into these nonprofits so we can stay airborne because it's a really tough fundraising environment. To be honest with you, but we, a lot of folks when they join Top Gun Options members, they'll, hey man, Wiz, I just made X, Y, and Z on a trade. I just threw a couple $100 at the foundation. I love our squadron at Top Gun Options. I love the work that we're doing, and profiting with purpose. Like I said, making money is great, but man, could you imagine making money and potentially saving and changing the lives of millions of not just your fellow Americans, but around the world? Man, the world would be what a much better place this place would be if we all took responsibility for our healing. And let me end on this note, because John's an aviator too. When you get on an airliner, what does the flight attendant tell you? If we lose pressurization, put the mask on who first? You. You're no good to anybody else, man, if you're not good. So in this sector, investing in the psychedelic sector, not only can you potentially help put the mask on other people, but you could potentially help put the mask on yourself. You got it, man. You got, look at this. I love you guys, man. Thank you for having me. Hey, John, I appreciate it. I'm sure people were like, I did not expect any of that, but that's me, man. I'm always doing my surprise attack. So go download the reports. I'd love to see you in one of our trade briefs in the near future. If you have any questions to me, you can email me. It's easy to remember. Wiz, WHIZ, at nofallenheroes.com. If you got any questions, I'm here, man. If you got, we can talk trading all you want, but if you need any, you're in a bad place, anybody else in a bad place, or any veterans, first responders, or family members who could use who need some help, I'm here 24/7. Okay. All right, guys. I appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day. Fights on, and namaste. John, I'll throw it back to you, my brother.
Hey, Matt, I did take LSD once in my life. That
Awesome.
was 50 years ago in Hawaii. I was climbing the highest mountain in Maui, and
Mm.
somebody gave me some stuff that was pre-tested, and I had a babysitter with me the whole time. And I climbed this mountain on LSD, and the plants were breathing.
Amen, John. They
And they were
are.
multicolored, psychedelic colored plants. So you can see where those psychedelic colors are coming from.
Amen, my brother.
And
And they are actually like that. It's just, John, what does ego stand for? Edge got out. If you can dissolve the ego for a little bit, you'd be amazed at what you can see on the other side of that.
I took it once, had a great experience, and I just thought I'm going to quit while I'm ahead, and never
Hey,
took it
John,
again.
you nailed it, man. Let me answer that real quick because people are like, do you need to do this often? Man, ibogaine was one of the toughest things I've ever done in my life. I never want to do it again. So a lot of people can be one and done with these compounds, just like you were. Yeah, you don't. This
Yeah.
ain't recreational, so you could be one and done.